Hey guys, Alex here. Welcome to vlog number 3. Today we're going to be doing SQL injection and we're going to be practicing this on our very vulnerable BWAPP box. We installed that in the first vlog, so if you haven't set up the pen testing lab with us, make sure you go check out the first one. So I'm going to jump straight in here. I've put a couple of add-ons that I want you to download in the post above. The main one I want you to download for this though is just the hack bar. We'll get into Foxy Proxy a bit later on when we get a bit more into the SQL injection. So just click add-ons and download this one, hack bar. Okay, it's a very good add-on. Don't get me wrong, it's not an automation tool. It's not going to do everything for you. This is just to help aid you do it and speed it up a little bit. Okay. So once that's downloaded, we're going to have to connect into our BWAPP box, all right? So to do that, we just have to connect into it by the IP address of the BWAPP box. So we just plug that into the URL here, 1.30. You'll hit this landing page and then just click BWAPP, okay? So the credentials are just here. So just type them in, B, password bug. All right, so to test this vulnerable web app, we just have to choose which one we want. I'm not going to go through all of them because that would take quite a while. So I'm just going to go through a couple of each and just so you get the feel of how to start off your SQL injection journey. We'll start off with the get search. So we just click that one and press hack. So first off, when hacking any type of pen testing on any sort of web application, just got to get rid of that. I've lost where I was. Anyway, what you need to do when you're starting off any other pen testing web app, you just need to figure out what the application is doing. So what's happening on there? What is it doing? What's the responses you're getting from it? That's always should be the first step. So the first step we're going to do is just type in a movie. So we'll just type in Iron Man. And there we go. So you can notice straight away in the top of the URL that we have the post data showing to us. So what we need to do is add in a single quote here and see what we get. So first up, we get an SQL error straight away. All right, so now we know it's injectable. We can start using manipulated query strings to give us input on the web page. So first off, we'll start off by going order by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the numbers there is me counting the columns in the database. Okay, so I'm just guessing there's an 8. The SQL error that is just shown us here shows that there isn't 8 columns in the database. So let's just try a different number. I've done this before, so obviously it's going to be, I'm just going to show you the actual number of it. So I'm going to press 7. Now I don't get any SQL error here. So, oh my God, my dog. Okay, so we don't get an SQL error when we put in 7. So that tells me that there are 7 columns in this database. So what we're going to do is now we're going to change the order by to a union select. Okay, so we'll go union select. We'll leave the numbers, press enter. We now get some input here in the database where we can now reflect information from inside the database. So what we're going to do is change the 2 just to show you what we can do. So we'll put in, let's just figure out the database name. So database, and we'll just press enter here. So first off, you can see BWAPP. It's come and shown us the database name. So that's successful injection right there. So what we're going to do now, sorry, my dog. Anyway, what we're going to do now is figure out what the table names are inside the database. So we're going to change database to table underscore name. And at the end of the 7, we're going to go from information underscore schema.tables, okay? Now this now shows us all of the tables inside the database. So there's a lot of data here, but there's just some key ones we want to look at. Blog, heroes, movies, users, okay? So what we want is the users one. So now we know what the table name is we want inside the database. The next step is to enumerate the columns inside that table. So we're going to change the table to column. And we're going to change schema.tables to schema.columns. Where table underscore name equals users, okay? Pretty easy stuff. That has now shown us all the columns inside the table users, okay? So there's some pretty easy ones we want straight away there. Login and password. So from here, the last step is just to dump all the information from those two 2 columns. So what we'll do is remove this and change it to from users. And from those numbers we saw earlier, down here, ID, we got 3, 5, 4. We can manipulate them any in those numbers to whatever we want. So what we're going to do is put in login in number 2, and number 5, we're going to put password. Okay. Now, because there's no 6 or 7 here, you cannot put login or password in 6 or 7 because it just won't come up. But because there's a 2 and there's a 5, we can successfully enumerate it. So if we just press enter here, we have successfully found the usernames and the password hashes. And breaking the BWAPP password hashes is very simple. We just go onto here, Google, crack hashes. First one we can just click that straight away. Very easy stuff, just paste that in. Convince the web app that you're not a robot. Crack the hashes, should take a couple of seconds. And there we go, we've got the password bug. We already knew it was bugged, but that's just how easy it is to break into the first SQL injection of the BWAPP box. So we'll just move on again. I'll do a post search this time. So we'll go and press hack. So this time, remember like last time, we just want to see what the responses are. So you just got to have a feel for the web application. So the first time, we'll just put Iron Man again. Now the first time, we actually saw post data inside the URL. This time, it's been turned off on the back end. This is where our trusty hack box has come into play, okay? So what if we just put a single quote in here? If we press F9 to activate the hack bar, we load the URL and then enable post data. The hack bar actually shows us the post data so we can manipulate it. So we just want to set it to 0, put the SQL single quote in there, and then we'll go order by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We know it's 7 from the last one, so we'll just put 7 in. Excuse me. Oh, not enter. We want execute. No movies were found. So that tells me that there were 7 columns in here. We already knew that though. So we're just going to move on to doing a union select. Union select. Execute, and there we go. We've got our numbers again. So I'm not going to go through the full process again because it's exactly the same, but just to show you, I'll do a database one there so we see we've manipulated the numbers that are on the web application. So again, that's the exact same process from now on from the last one we just did. So you will then enumerate the table names, you will then enumerate the column names, and then you will dump all of the details from the column names of your choice, okay? So it's exactly the same as the last one. All right, so we'll move on quickly. We'll do a login form this time. This is always good to do a login form. Okay, so what are we going to do here? So let's try 1 single quote or 1 equals 1. Doesn't matter what the password is, and we'll just press login. Straight away, we know we've got an SQL error. If we press the load URL, again, it's going to show us the post data that we needed, okay? So all we have to do is remove the encoded data in login. And then we just put the single quote, order by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll test that. This time it's saying that there's not 5 columns in this, okay? So what we're gonna do is try 4, press execute. All right, so it's saying it's worked, but it didn't work, but it's working in the sense that it now tells us that there's only 4 columns in this database, okay? So now we'll go to the order by. We'll change that to a union select again. Execute. Okay, and now you can see down the bottom, we have those familiar numbers that we saw in the last 2, but they're just down there in a different format, okay? But it works exactly the same as we did in the last 2. We can just change number 2 because we can see 2 there after welcome. We'll just put database, brackets, execute, and there we go. We've successfully enumerated the database via the login form. Again, from the last 2 we just did, it's the exact same process from then on to enumerate the table names, the column names, and then dump the data from inside those columns, okay? So we'll move on again. We're doing really good here. So we'll do one more. I'll do a stored this time. So stored is a little bit different to the ones we've been doing, whereas we've been reflecting it from the URL and the post data. This time we're going to reflect it from the actual web app as it's being stored in the blog. So the format's going to be a little bit different here. So if we just put Alex, let's just see what the web application is doing. Remember, that is our first step always. We press add entry. The web application has stored our post in the blog and it's just there for everyone to see. So what if we put Alex and a single quote? We're getting an SQL error. All right, so that tells you that this blog is vulnerable to SQL injection. So let's try something here. So we go Alex, comma, select, let's try database. And let's see what it gives us. BWAPP. So we've now successfully printed out in the blog that's stored on the web application, the database name, okay? So now we can try what we did in the first one and enumerate the table names, the column names, and dump the data. Again, this is done in a little bit of a different format, but still very similar. So we go Alex, select. Because we don't get the numbers as we did last time, you know, the 2, the 4, the 5, we don't have those displayed on our web application. What we're going to need to do is concatenate the information we want displayed into one column here, okay? So what we're going to do is group underscore concatenate. We want table underscore name from information underscore schema dot tables, where table underscore schema is equal to, and the database name, which we just found out was BWAPP. Bracket that off, and let's see what happens when we add the entry. Okay, so now we see what's stored in that one spot, which we concatenated together, is all the table names. Okay. Excuse me. So now the next step is to enumerate the columns inside users. All right. So that was always the next step. So we go Alex, select. We want to group concatenate always for this. So we want column name this time. Column name from information underscore schema dot columns, where table underscore name is equal to users. Okay. Bracket it off, and then add the entry. We see here we now have all the column names enumerated from the database, group concatenated in the same field. So now all the last step for this is just to dump the login and the password. So one last easy query. So we go Alex, select, what would we like to do? Group, so we've got a group concat, sorry, I'm back. We want login and we want password. Okay, from users. All right, and then we'll just add that entry. Oh, I made a mistake here. Select group underscore concat. We want login, password from users. Add entry. There we go. Sorry, I must have made a spelling error just then. But there we go. Username and the password hashes. And that's how simple it is. That's how we get the stored SQL injection working. So I'm just going to stop it there for today. This was just a great starting point for you guys to start your SQL injection journey. And also just to test our BWAPP box that we set up in our first vlog on the setting up the pen testing lab. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you continue on and take this knowledge with you, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. So thanks for watching.